were option contracts made by hedges.
And of course, we all got banned from the MMAT Reddit.
Oh yeah,
that was funny.
With that,
Yep.
that was nuts. The shills really pushed this ticker, which was a red flag for a lot of us that researched, and it's just disappointing, to see this happen today. It's my heart goes out to everyone affected, because we've tried to warn a lot of people that the short hedge funds cannot be trusted, and neither can the brokers. So that's pretty much our message base to begin with, and all the due diligence and research done is to help retail investors for investor protection, and we have taken a lot of shit for it, and for no reason at all, just because others disagreed. And it has to do with greed. That can be blinding in the market. That's part of the stock market. Hearing others' perspectives, and former CEOs not understanding completely either. It's just very confusing for everyone.
And we don't blame these guys, right? Like these CEOs for not understanding, because this should have never been trading to begin with.
No, there's no blame on anyone for something like this. I want to make that clear. So when we talk about Mmtlp, it is a ticker that was not sponsored or supported by Metamaterials Inc., and it has no connection with Metamaterials, even though the ticker mimicked Metamaterials on it, and it was on the OTC, so they don't really regulate that sort of thing. So when there's a ticker created, it's passed on, by Finra, and they saw our real shares with it, and then hedges started trading synthetics and fed them to retails to buy, and people thought they had to buy them back, and Finra halted the security because it was too dangerous. We don't know everything, but with the expert market that it started trading on, we cannot find any information whatsoever on it. It's like a hidden market, and we just knew they were OTC derivatives, and those are very risky. I mean, they were options, so there's a possibility they could lose total value, and it seems like that's where it's headed, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's take a look at what the CEO of MMAT said. He put out a 40-second statement here that he was having a discussion with somebody. Somebody videoed it and put it out, and I think it's really
commitment to making sure that the original Torchlight holders of the dividend get the maximum value out of these assets. You have to understand that the biggest shareholder of Torchlight, which is Greg McCabe, the former chairman of Torchlight, to this day has not sold a single MMAT share. So I care deeply about everyone that has been involved in the entire process, and we're making 100% our best effort, spending money for the best lawyers to get the best processes and basically make sure that the maximum value is captured.
That's directly from George Pelikaris, the CEO of MMAT. And then we've got another video here of Ken Rice, the CFO.
We negotiated for the 75-25 split.
This is the CFO of Metamaterials Inc., Ken Rice.
Negotiated for the 75-25 split with one caveat. The caveat is that the oil and gas assets that were still on the books of Torchlight last year, or 2020 actually, would remain with their shareholders. And so whatever net proceeds came from selling those assets or spinning them out, they would go to the legacy shareholders of Torchlight. So the 75.5 million that you see in assets held for sale are those assets. So.
And that's Ken's statement. Let's see, when was that? I think that was in the Q2 report or something like that this
Yep.
year in March, and he's just stating that you had to be there before the ex-dividend date, and George Palikaris clarified
That was in June of
MMTLP
2021, right?
Yes, and Palikaris clarified that the original holders are with that ex-dividend date from June 2021, and he said last week that there would be no ex-dividend date for MMTLP, and that's where, you know, higher authorities like Finra, the VP of OTC markets, said that usually when there's a cancellation leading to deletion, the next day it's a possible that the ticker's removed. And George had stated, if you're a Torchlight holder, he said this back in March of last year, so 3 months ahead of time before our dividend was announced.
Yep.
He said if you're an original Torchlight holder, the record date had a cutoff. So essentially that means if you're not in by this certain date, it was June 22nd, 2021, two settlement days for the record date, which would be June 24th, 2021. And if you were not in, you will not get next bridge. And that's kind of where it's headed right now. The ex-dividend date, you know, allows the transfer agent to know who's in the books to get paid. The brokers are not involved.
You just stated
it's the
how
company.
How do the people keep
company
asking
pays
me?
us.
How do the market makers and them know who's going to get the dividend? And you just stated that. Could you repeat that last sentence one more time for me?
Yes, sir. So when there's a dividend announcement, it takes 10 days before the record date. It's called a declared dividend. And on June 14th, George Palikaris, the CEO, he actually took over for Torchlight as CEO at the time. And he announced this dividend. You had to be in 2 days before the record date and hold. So you could have bought Torch anytime before June 22nd and hold, and you're in the books recorded with their transfer agent. So if you're in the books with Torchlight, you get NextBridge, and that's how our deal is set up. It's a part of the merger deal with Metamaterials.
Yes, sir.
And this is how it's going. I mean, this is Ken Rice, the CFO, George Palikaris, the CEO. They are in charge of all accounting duties. So what they say goes, and those are the ones that you must listen to. And George has done everything he could, and Finra took over, unfortunately, and canceled and deleted this ticker that was temporarily trading our rights back and forth. And it's pretty sad that it had to end up this way, you know, with no fault of Metamaterials whatsoever. So
I agree.
that's kind of how it went.
And people need to
Also
realize
some
Go
misconception that when the merger happened, the shorts from TRCH went into MMTLP. That is wrong, because MMTLP is a dividend.
It's a placeholder.
The dividend that MMAT, well, yeah, it's a placeholder for the dividend for NextBridge.
Yep.
MMAT is the company that merged with TRCH. So everything, assets, shorts, shares, everything went into Meta.
Yep.
Not into the dividend that Meta issued.
When he says Meta, he means MMAT.
Yes, exactly. So when we talk about CUSIP changes, there was a Torchlight Energy one, and the deal was June 25th for the reverse merger takeover, and it was a 2-for-1 split. So every legacy Torchlight holder that's on record from June 24th was issued their Series A preferred shares, and George Palikaris said in July that they were already issued, which means they're fully paid for and owned.
Yep.
So with regards to Fidelity, he mentioned check the back office, which I think means the transfer agent of the previous company, which is Torchlight Energy. So they actually completed this whole transaction in July. I think it was July 7th of 2021.
Right around there, yeah.
So essentially we've had this placeholder until, you know, the sale of the dividend. So it's, the placeholder is not a way in to NextBridge. It's after the ex-dividend date. You had to be in before, and that's what we're learning today. I mean, that's what happened.
Yeah, there's a lot
That's
of
the
people that
reason
are.
it's gone.
Sorry, go ahead. There's a lot of people talking about it today that have never spoken about it before. And here, Fuzzy Monkey, Exact Perspective, Chewy, Team Voltron, and myself, and many other people have been looking into this for over a year now, year and a half. And the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of things that are very clear here. One, MMTLP is not an actual dividend. It's simply a placeholder. Okay? It was a dividend placeholder only. It was traded on OTC. It is pink sheet. It is illegally trading. It should never have been traded in the beginning, in the first place. It is a great market
I
security.
just
Go ahead.
add to that.
Yep. Jump in.
It wasn't necessarily illegal, but it's unofficially trading.
Thank you.
The way it was brought to market, I believe, is illegal.
Yeah, you're right. That's kind of what I was getting at there. It should have never been brought to market, and that's why George Palikaras and Ken Rice kept saying that it was not sponsored by MMAT. You know what I mean? And people don't realize, for whatever reason, they're following these YouTubers and these influencers on Twitter and Reddit that are telling them that MMTLP is like sponsored by MMAT, and that's not the case. Here you have a tweet from Kenneth L. Rice, the CFO of Meta, saying, unfortunately, Meta can't comment on trading activity or other matters related to that ticker symbol, talking about MMTLP, since it's not a company-sponsored symbol or supported trading symbol.
Yes, exactly. And then the underlying portion there, when we issued the Series A, that means that people already own the shares. And Finra came out with that corporate notice saying settled positions, and I believe that's what the issued shares are. Since we already have a total of 165 million that George stated, also back in August of 2021. He said there was already 165 million shares, and the transaction already happened. So, unfortunately, there was a lot of confusion that, buyers and sellers could trade it back and forth. But you have to remember, it's after the ex-dividend date. So no one, even if you get these shares, they wouldn't get NextBridge because the NASDAQ set the ex-dividend date, and anyone after or on that date, I actually purchased Torch on the ex-dividend date and did not get my dividend shares.
Yeah.
So how could anyone else?
And now people are saying in the comments right now and in the chat that, oh, shit, if MMTLP, was done like that, then APE is doomed. I think that's the most retarded fucking thing I've ever seen. There is literally a list right in front of your fucking eyes right there telling you the differences between a real company-sponsored dividend versus a basically illegally trading, unsponsored, OTC, pink sheet, gray market fucking piece of shit fraud that was committed by whatever market maker or institution decided to have these traded. MMTLP should never...
Yeah, that would be Citadel.
MMTLP should never have been traded. It is technically trading illegally. It should not have been on the market. Only Torch shareholders are supposed to get the dividend because they got it during the ex-dividend date. Again, that was in June of 2021. The value of MMAT is derived solely from MMAT, not from MMTLP. There was a caveat emptor issued by Finra yesterday confirming the suspicions of fraud. And MMAT said they literally hold all shares of NextBridge, and it has not yet been issued. Whereas the APE dividend is AMC preferred equity shares. It is not pink sheet. It is not traded on gray market. It is not traded on the OTC. It was issued directly by AMC Theaters. The value of AMC is derived from both APE and AMC combined, which is the ticker symbol AMC1. It is the derivatives basket of which many people still don't know what the fuck that means. That means that AMC is not just the sole stock price of AMC. The real stock price of AMC is AMC plus APE, which is the ticker AMC1. Trades on the New York Stock Exchange, not on the OTC, and upon issuance was 97% owned by retail investors, whereas MMTLP is majority owned by institutions at this point. There are nothing but differences here. Everything about them, you're comparing a filet mignon to a fucking apple. They may both be foods, but they taste different, they look different, they smell different, they have different values, and they're completely fucking opposites. Just because they're
A
food
rot,
doesn't
a
mean that they're
rotten
the same.
apple, bro. It was a rotten apple.
A rotten apple. There you go. That's a better way to put it. A rotten apple compared to a fucking medium rare prime Wagyu filet mignon. They're two completely fucking different things. And so for people to say that, oh, they're the same, that the same thing's going to happen to Ape, that's absolute fucking nonsense. It shows a huge lack of education and understanding about market mechanics. Huge. It's people that don't understand what's happening in the markets, and they just want to say, oh, woe is me, MMTLP got delisted. Guess what, guys? We already fucking knew about it. Okay? This is nothing new.
We said it.
It's on the Finra website right here, otce.finra.org/OTCE/daily-list. This was given to us several days ago on 12/6. Their announcement revised that supposedly they said the MMTLP shareholders with settled positions as of 12/12 will receive 1 share of NextBridge Hydrocarbons for every 1 share of MMTLP held. Purchases of MMTLP executed after 12/8 will not receive the distribution. The announcement revised that, and that it would be delisted on the 13th. If anything, because the fact that MMTLP was down 54% yesterday and 30% more today, people should be, holders of MMTLP should be thankful to Finra for pulling it from the markets. Now, you may disagree with me, but what do you think would have happened if nobody's able to buy it, but the shorts can keep shorting it? Where would it have gone?
We might have seen it. We might have actually seen it gone down way past, a penny even. We don't. Yeah. I actually looked up other caveat emptors last night, and there was, 0.002, 0.001 trading as well. So it could have dumped even further, and people could have panic sold. I mean, we don't know exactly the whole process, but they said they were looking out for investors when they did this, and you have to trust, Finra in a way that they did what was best at the time.
And it would have just kept going down, just like we saw the last 2 days. When retail can't buy it, it would have just kept fucking going down. Caveat emptor.
People would have lost. I think there would have been way more losses involved right now today if it would have been trading.
I completely agree. I'm like, in my opinion, I'm 99% positive the stock would have just kept going down and down and down on MMTLP. What is caveat emptor? OTC Markets Group has determined that there is a public interest concern associated with the company, which may include a spam campaign, questionable stock promotion, known investigation of fraudulent activity committed by the company or insiders, regulatory suspensions, or disruptive corporate actions. Now, we've heard George Pelikaris and Ken Rice, CFO, both here on video telling us exactly what we just fucking said, that it should never have been trading. They told us about Torch shareholders interested in participating in the dividend. The cutoff record date will be the Torch shareholder voting meeting date. This was on 3/15 of 2021. The Torch record date is not linked to MMAT's voting date that already took place on Friday the 12th. They are flat out coming out and telling us that they are not involved with MMTLP in any way whatsoever. They said...
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And George, you have to listen to the CEO of the company, the man in charge, and he gave plenty of warnings. We've actually tried to bring up, to go through his tweets. You can just look up George Pelikaris and use the search bar and just, either look up X dividend date or record date, and that's who is... on the company's books. You had to be in by a certain date, and those are the shareholders that they have been saying all along. Every single filing is written as a Series A preferred stockholder. That's who I am. That's who many of us are, and we're from Torchlight, and that's the only thing we knew.
Now, people. Sorry, go ahead.
Trading the ticker and holding your preferred shares were separated. And we saw that with Schwab, that they had non-marginal and marginal when they were actually listed. So you could see, signs that they were differentiated. And there was plenty of warnings on OTC Market that it's unsolicited, which means that it solely rests on the customer order. I mean, we were seeing people calling in to buy this, and which is just unheard of, to talk to income departments and derivative specialists, and it's very strange. I don't think this has ever happened before. it's a first for everyone, and it's not the fault of MMAT at all. Like there's nothing that rests on George or Ken. They've done their job the right way. They're in charge of all accounting.
Yep.
And unfortunately, there was a lot of crime involved with Torch, CFDs, and the MMTLP swaps trading that we found through Northern Trust, and that they could possibly be mixed in with unsponsored ADRs, which is worse than naked shorting. That's what I think. That's my opinion, because they have no info attached to them. So we couldn't figure out anything. We just knew that it was a high risk with the potential delisting, and that's what occurred, sadly, today. And I really, want people to take from this to, take a step back, to take a break and read and maybe, watch some YouTube videos, going over dividends, because I think many people don't understand how dividends actually work and the process of ex-dividend and record dates. So you can just look up that on YouTube and find out you have to be in before an ex-dividend date, and MMTLP did not have an ex-dividend date. So therefore it was canceled and deleted by Finra.
Also, let's not forget the fact that today the cost to borrow on MMAT doubled. Basically doubled. Went to like max cost to borrow was like 560%.
Just
Well, the average was like 200.
It's getting wild. We held a space call on MetaDD a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the catalyst lining up, and this next bridge is our maximum value for the Torchlight holders that continued to hold. You had to hold the entire process. It's for holders.
Yep, they couldn't sell and buy back in. If you
you can't sell.
The MMTLP,
you sell, you lost it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely right. And OTC Markets is telling us right here, they issued an announcement on 12/8 yesterday. OTC Markets Group has designated MMTLP with caveat emptor due to public interest concern and potential confusion amongst market participants regarding dates and entitlements for the share exchange published by Finra on December 6th and revised on December 8th. Those are the two things that we just showed you a few minutes ago. OTC Markets cautions broker-dealers, shareholders, and prospective purchasers that they should carefully consider the foregoing information along with all other currently available information and any info subsequently issued by the company and Finra. Participants are also reminded to refer to UPC Notice 55-13 for further info on the determination of X dates or the lack thereof from any dividend distribution. Right? The S1, we heard George Palikaris state that the SEC declares that the S1 is effective. Then we go with Finra, who has to help us actually implement the spinoff itself. And the major thing that they need to do is ensure that when we do the spinoff, the trading in MMTLP ceases because the stock won't be there anymore. So that's number one. People, you have been warned, MMTLP holders have been warned about this for a long time. If you held from Torchlight, got MMTLP, and are going to receive NextBridge dividend, well, I think you're all set. But if you were buying MMTLP thinking you were going to get it, well, that's not so great either. This was from 2 days ago. MMTLP was down 58.6% in one day, and then it was down another 30% today before it got pulled off the market by Finra. If my opinion, if anything, they did a favor to people by doing so. I think they did a favor to people that were NextBridge Torchlight dividend holders, original holders, by taking it off. And honestly, anyone trying to compare MMTLP to AMC, APE, GME, or any other actual preferred equities or dividends that are sponsored by the companies have to remember that MMT was illegally trading OTC, pink sheet, gray market bullshit, unsponsored dividend placeholder. It was not an actual dividend. It was not a preferred equity share. It is not preferred shares at all. You can't compare a rotten apple to a filet mignon. You can't fucking do that. It makes no sense. So people keep trying to say, oh, well, if they can do it with that, they can do it with this. And that's not the way that it works. That's not the way that it works. The fact of the matter is that a lot of people are very upset thinking this is a biased take, but it's not. We've been telling you the same fucking thing for a year. And so has Finra.
In the fraud space, one of the things we've seen with the explosion in social media and the use of social media in trading,
Yeah, and Finra,
we have seen a proliferation of
do you want to
bad
say what Finra actually does, like what they represent, you know, the financial?
I'm going to play this video real quick, 40 seconds. Listen to this.
In the fraud space, one of the things we've seen with the explosion in social media and the use of social media in trading, we have seen a proliferation of bad market actors who are buying up significant amounts of shares in low-priced microcap securities, again, a lot of them in the OTC markets. And then what's happening, and we're focused on this, and the SEC is focused on this, these bad actors are then simultaneously creating the of social media and trading. We have seen a proliferation of bad market actors who are buying up significant amounts of shares in low-priced microcap securities, again, a lot of them in the OTC markets. And then what's happening, and we're focused on this, and the SEC is focused on this, these bad actors are then simultaneously creating their own social media following and promoting and touting those low-priced microcap securities, and in many ways making misrepresentations. So that's where it crosses the line from legal trading to illegal trading.
There we go. All right, mic check. All right, we're good. Back in the Discord here. Yeah, what I just showed you guys from Finra directly was them stating exactly what you guys are seeing from many YouTubers out there and Twitter's influencers and such that have been pushing MMTLP. It is OTC, and they have been buying up significant amounts of shares in these low-priced micro-cap securities to get people to buy them in so that they can sell. It really is a pump and dump, and a lot of people sadly miss the mark.
And yeah, that's absolutely correct. And I do want to touch on, there was some confusion where, you know, Torchlight, some people thought that Torchlight became MMTLP, but that's not the case.
Right.
That was only the ex-dividend date shares. And that's why they weren't allowed, because they were all from the ex-dividend date. So whoever has those shares, they do not have entitlement. It's called a when issued market, and parent shareholders, which are legacy Torchlight, are allowed to sell their shares. And that was the reason the short hedge funds brought it to market, to fool us, to get us to sell before we get our next bridge. So it was big time fuckery in that regard. And then on top of that, they pushed the ticker for retail to buy because they knew that this would happen. The shorts are very anti-retail, and you can see that with all the results the past couple of years. They were trading these on the OTC, so we warned about the hedge funds, and we never personally touched the OTC for that reason. And the fact that there was no press release for about a year later on the actual ticker from the company, but they had to specify what it was because there are shareholders that are holding it. So every single press release you saw was garnered for a Series A preferred stockholder, and those are only from Legacy Torchlight, which means the merger, because this is the merger deal. That's how it's set up.
And it's something you guys have been screaming from the rooftops for over a year now. We have all been trying to tell people, trying to warn them. And a lot of MMTLP pumpers and their fans, tried to shit on us for it. When the reality is this isn't a I told you so. This is a watch out for your fucking self. Don't listen to the bullshit you're hearing all over social media. Make your own fucking decisions. Do your own due diligence. We're not here to be to counter everything that they're saying. We're just here to tell you what we've learned. And it's up to you to fucking use your own due diligence, use your own head to figure it out for yourself. We've been telling you this for over a year. Here's a video from 7 months ago.
That's not surprising. The cost to borrow.
And the whole process was very confusing. So I honestly don't blame anyone for not understanding what it was, because it was so confusing. And unofficially trading with derivatives, and they were using the same QSIP as our placeholder that was not meant to be brought to market. So,
Yep.
you know, when that happens, people think, oh, they're giving away dividends, you know, for cheap. This thing fucking started trading at 10 cents and was at a penny. So I mean, people pumped it up. Obviously, whoever bought it early on, you know, they wanted to, you know, rise it up. Suspicions that we've had are the torch shorts that owe the dividend. We're in this ticker, but it was just a temporary market to participate in the rise and fall, and it was very volatile because, like people were saying, there's 165 million in the float. This expert gray market, you can't figure out any data. It was using metamaterials data to even be listed, and that's where the fucking confusion happened. There's no data on the placeholder. Via Form 211, the SEC looked up MMTLP and found nothing. So there's your answer. There's no information about MMTLP. It was it was a leech attached to our stock, MMAT, ever since October 6th, 2021, when the option contract started trading these shares. So we found FTDs related to this before that because of the ex-dividend date. So from the ex-dividend date on June 23rd, 2021, and until today, this essentially traded, you know, behind the company's back, and we found out that it's because of the ex-dividend date. Like George said last week, MMTLP does not have an ex-dividend date, so that's why it happened.
Also, there was another red flag that we mentioned before. MMTLP was only going for unsolicited quotes only, which means that there was a 15-minute delay to the data that you saw on your broker, right? So let's say I saw something 10 minutes ago, that's still not the data of trading.
Yep. Absolutely right. And there's a lot of people out there that have been pushing MMTLP. If you want to be mad at somebody, go be mad at them. Because all we've been trying to do this whole fucking time for the last year and a half is try to share the truth and the realities of things happening in the world and in the stock market with you, the retail investor. So don't be mad at us that MMTLP didn't go your way if you're an investor in MMTLP. Okay? Why don't you point at the people that were feeding you bad information, opposed to being angry at the ones that you've been shitting on for a year for giving you good information.
That's the thing too. Like when people are presented the facts, sometimes it's not what they want to hear, unfortunately, and I understand that. And people were told that, you know, you could get this dividend for cheap. You know, it was trading at $1 for a damn year. That's a red flag. That, you know, it was manipulated. So the manipulation is what we've been dealing with, and we've tried to share with everyone. And if that means that they've made fun of us for whatever reason, I don't know why, but I think it was because they thought we were attacking their, you know, investment, which essentially we were attacking no one. We were trying to protect, and that's the message gets lost because of that. Yeah, the message is lost.
Oftentimes that's the case, you know. So the message that we're trying to get across here is, don't try to think that everything else on the market is going to happen exactly the same as it happened on any legally trading dividend placeholder and trading in OTC markets, you know, in this pink sheet gray market bullshit, because it's not the same at all. You're comparing a rotten apple to a fucking Wagyu ribeye. You know, it's not the same whatsoever. So a lot of people need to, you know, think a little bit more about what's happening and about what's going on. And realize that maybe if the stock was down 80% in 2 days and retail couldn't buy it and it's owned majority by institutions, and you can only get the dividend if you purchased it as an OG Torchlight holder, then maybe Finra did you a solid.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was also another red flag in how the MMTLP stock rose, because me and Fuzzy were following the volume of the stock,
Yep.
and MMTLP was often trading at below like 1 million volume.
Mm-hmm.
Then when it started rising to $10, from $1 to $10, it went on like maybe 2-3 million volume. Normal stocks, it's very rare for normal stocks to rise that much on so much little volume.
Well, that's a great point. So that further, emphasizes the fact that they were option contracts, and we did notice on Webull that they showed 100 lot orders, which means options were trading. So there was a lot of confusion with that as well. And when the price moves on low volume, that just tells you that these short hedge funds were trading it. And it never really had any big volume day until yesterday, where it seemed heavy selling was going on, and there was some whales that were trading it. I believe they posted, I think it was Rich Fucker and Will Stewart, and they were whales of these shares. So I think people, that was the source of trading these shares. So that's the people that you talk to, and I think that's what the YouTubers of MMTLP were talking to, and they made it seem as it was a surefire way to get these NextBridge shares.
Check. There we go.
Because when you read things in the filings, you don't expect any fuckery involved. So when a press release is brought out, they're just expecting, right, like a Series A preferred stockholders, and that's how the wording is for the legalese that's put out by Metamaterials. And MMAT, they only said that Legacy Torchlight. So essentially, MMTLP was not involved. It was something entirely separate. So, but I know the YouTuber's Bird Lady. She knows all about everything. So
Yep.
she has probably more answers about things like that.
Here you got other people like a Short Squeeze over here, and Uncle Smokey, Bird Lady, Rich Fucker, all these people lying to people. Half the shit here is lies, and people believe it.
They also admitted to having NDAs with the whales of MMTLP.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And
why would you need non-disclosure agreements?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is very suspicious. That is exact perspective he brought, that through the Voltron DDs on Reddit that's posted, that Bird Lady represents a group of people with 5 million shares of MMTLP each, and they've met with executives, bunch of NDAs that were signed early this year. She says, why would this group I represent now meet with the executives if MMTLP was fake? So I think that was one of the reasons. They just didn't understand that it may have been fake. I don't know, but I think a lot of investors deserve the answer to why there's NDAs to begin with, when it's an unsponsored ticker to Metamaterials. And it's just very confusing, and John Berta didn't know much about this either.
Yeah, I think they understood
like
very
Meta
well.
Was
I'm not sure about John Berta.
Were the only ones that knew shit about this, and that it wasn't involved. So who?
I gotta refresh my Discord. Excuse me, people. 1 second. But yeah, look, it says right here, T+2 rule. So last chance to be in Torch Energy is Tuesday, 6/22/2021, end of day, from George Palikaris himself.
People make YouTube videos weekly for the last year, and they're saying that giving dividend estimates. I think it was like 20 and above, $50. You get shares in Exxon Energy. I mean, these are all. This is just speculation. Nobody knows anything for sure. So I don't know if the representatives are in the oil industry or what. They seem to have previous knowledge of oil deals. So whoever it is, I don't believe anything is released until the announcement of this of the sale. So whoever's being used as info or sources, everyone, they're just like us. They're just like You know, just like Berta, they're just like Smokey, they're like Syntax, they're like Exact Perspective, HTDK, Wendell, and they're like everybody in here. We don't know anything until we get distributed. So it's just a mass speculation event, and it's sad. The OTC, I believe Bird, she said, you know, it's high risk, high reward, and that's kind of how the OTC goes. I don't blame them at all for saying something like that, that it's wild west, because it is. And just the ridiculous price quotes, I think that rooted from the fact that Torch is heavily shorted and has been for decades, and this ticker was attached to our ex-dividend date, and that's where the confusion is routed from. And they said something about $600 that this ticker would go to, which is, I mean, is he talking about MMAT or what, Torch? Like, I don't know. Was that, it can't be the placeholder, so we know that this price target is set, which is interesting. I wonder if that has something to do with the shorts pressure, all the synthetics, because we have found tons of synthetics from Torchlight, and that's where a lot of people know that Torchlight was heavily shorted. The buying pressure led up to this dividend actually didn't have an option chain, so it was just buying pressure only, and people were FOMOing in to get this dividend, like myself and many others. So for this dividend, I'd like to give an example. Like, you know, you're playing a video game, right? And you're about to beat the final boss of a chapter, and the game gets paused. So we have been paused since that ex-dividend date, and the final boss is likely Citadel here. So there's way more to this fucking, both of these tickers. It's bigger than, you know, most people realize, I think. And the bashing that we've endured for so long, just speaking facts, you know, to everyone, it's disappointing. But I mean, I forgive anyone that's been confused. You know, I respect everyone's opinions, and I don't really give a fuck what anyone says about me or thinks. I like presenting the facts with, you know, all the DDs, and the Voltron DDs prove it. We've documented a lot of this, and I believe Exact has, you know, pointed to, which is very suspicious, that there's some influencers that I think his name was Gray Tendo.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
he was speaking, giving these price targets and then like all this information, and he said his source was Rich Fucker on that
He sure
audio
did.
that
In a
everyone
live
was
video.
listening to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so live video, so everyone knows
It was
that,
on a space call.
you know, everyone knows from this Twitter space call that these guys, you know, we're the whales trading, so they have the answers to MMTLP, and we've seen it delist. So that's where the source was for MMTLP.
You see, even today I see people on Twitter saying, oh, it will go to $600 per share. How is it gonna go to $600 per share if it's not allowed to trade? Like, people even now are not admitting that they've been bamboozled, basically.
Yeah, which is sad in its own right. You know, because people, I think they were told to remove stop losses, and just dangerous, you know, trading just to hold for this. I mean, well, in the meantime, you have people like us holding for the dividend too. So you have legacy Torchlight holders that own these 165 million shares, and we're all holding for our next bridge that we've been waiting for the whole time. It's been a fucking battle, but I think it, you know, it's coming to a close, and that game is going to resume, and we're going to see a final boss. That's what I'm thinking. When that next bridge is announced, when that PR comes out for next bridge hydrocarbons, everyone will get their answers that they deserve, and that's what George stated. So with George's plan, you wait until it happens. Nobody knows it except for George, and he's the CEO of MMAT. So no one knows shit until that fucking plan is released.
So this was another red flag, is when influencers told people, "Oh, go buy MMTLP because MMTLP is a real squeeze." They told people
Yep.
to buy an OTC gray sheet stock
Yep.
instead of a Nasdaq traded stock with a company behind it. Like that should be a red flag to almost everyone, honestly.
Huge red flag. Huge red flag. But a lot of people are still trying to say that we're biased or this and that. We're not biased. We have literally been saying this
Hell no.
exact same thing for a fucking year and a half. But people choose
I've
to
been in
hear what
meta
they
since
want.
a year and a half ago.
Exactly.
I want to be clear on that. We wanted everyone to win. It was
Yep.
about exposing the
It'd be
ticker.
great if they both fucking squeezed. That'd be awesome. More fucking winners, more retail investors making money. That's what we fucking want. But the reason we've been trying to tell people that MMTLP is not fucking looking good for a year and a half is because of exactly what happened today. Because we've been trying to fucking shout it from the rooftops, and I'm sorry if I keep fucking saying it, but the fact of the matter is that people only hear what they want to fucking hear. And you have to think of it unbiased, in an unbiased fashion. And I was more than happy to buy MMTLP, but then I realized, wait a minute, there's too many red flags here. I'm not buying that shit, and I never did. But I continue to buy MMAT. I'm a holder of MMAT, and I'll continue to buy it because it's a completely different stock. It's the only stock of value for metamaterials, right? George
Yes,
Pelikaris
it's
has told
corporate.
us that MMTLP has nothing to do with the value of MMAT whatsoever and should not even be trading. What the fuck does that tell you?
Yeah, and they also said in a press release, I think it was one of the S1 amendments, they said that the trading on the OTC has nothing to do with the shares that you'll receive from NextBridge. They said that the price per share, they specifically said price per share is unrelated. So I think that means the ticker. It was just very confusing. But the fact that they never came out with any press release on the actual ticker name, that's when we knew it wasn't sponsored, and it was hyped up. Unfortunately, people misled into a rug pull, and that was the likely outcome from the get-go. And that's just what we were warning about the whole time, because when people are experienced in the market, they can see what's happening. They can do research. They can do extensive due diligence. Others can really try to find out what's going on, and we fucking did that. So, with Exact's lead for the Voltron DDs with many other GME and AMC apes, we wanted to get the best information, most accurate information possible out. If that meant, being called bitches or clowns or whatever the fuck we were called just for providing facts and what have you, but that's just how it's done in the stock market. This is not the Trust Me Bro spin-off. Yep. This is the spin-off of NextBridge for Torchlight holders, and that's just how it's set up.
If you're just getting to this video live now and you didn't watch the first 20 minutes of it, you missed everything. You need to go back and watch it from the beginning and really absorb what the fuck you're listening to. Because if you still are not understanding what's going on, I don't think anybody in the world can fucking help you understand. Because it's really as clear as day.
MMTLP was a pump and dump, and it's very sad. I really hope everyone just kind of takes a step back and wants to learn, because when you focus on the negatives, that can really haunt you. You have to treat it as a learning experience, and the people that follow the rules of the market, they get their dividend, and that's just how it goes.
Original Torchlight shareholders.
Exactly who we are. So why the fuck would we bash a ticker that we own?
Yeah, exactly. Why would we be bashing
out the window?
Our fucking company that we have money in?
Us. Yeah, we have money in this. Like, we did not add on to our position because it never said that anywhere in any fund. So we held. We're holders. We're diamond hands. We're an MMAT. Fucking, they shorted the shit out of it. They're trying to shake the trees on MMAT right now. I mean,
yep.
God, you got a real ticker on NASDAQ that is the actual short squeeze. Like, come on, people.
Discord, we've been posting that me, Fuzzy, Exact, we own a lot of MMAT. We haven't done anything with MMTLP. We haven't bought more. We might have sold some for $10. I did. I know I did. I sold some shares of MMTLP for $10 because it was just a huge price.
Yeah, it's a good
I
profit,
saw
man.
the action. I saw the price action. I saw how it was trading. I was like, hey, let me take the opportunity, sell some, buy more MMAT, buy more real stock. Everyone does their own financial decisions. I did my DD. I saw an
I'm just relaying this
opportunity,
information.
and I did
financial.
it. I still own MMTLP. I still own MMAT. I still own APE. I still own AMC. MMTLP is not the same as APE because MMTLP was not recognized by the original company.
That's right.
It was trading on OTC gray sheets.
It was not
APE
recognized.
is trading on NASDAQ.
It was not issued. This OTC pink sheet should have never been fucking traded. MMAT CEOs flat out came out and say many times that it should never have been traded. You heard the CEO, you heard the CFO tell you this. How much more do you fucking need? But it's not the same thing as APE or AMC or GameStop or any other fucking shares on the market, right? As AMC preferred equity is APE, right? Those preferred shares with voting rights. That can't be said for MMTLP. AMC is not trading on pink sheets. That can't be said for MMTLP. AMC and APE are not gray market. That can't be said for MMTLP. They are issued directly by AMC. That can't be said by MMTLP and MMAT. The value of AMC is derived from both APE and AMC combined, which equals the ticker symbol AMC1, the derivatives basket that holds both AMC and APE. Therefore, in my opinion, if you're selling APE but you're holding AMC, you're cutting your fucking legs off. But hey, it's your fucking money. You want to buy MMTLP? You want to sell your APE? Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not here to tell you what to do. We're just here to share with you information, right? Like Chewy just said, APE and AMC trade on the New York Stock Exchange, not on OTC markets. And APE was owned 97% by retail on the issuance date, on the ex-dividend date, of which there was 43 million failures to deliver by market makers and shorts of APE on the ex-dividend date alone on one fucking day. You can't compare a rotten apple to a fucking filet mignon.
Exactly. And I think, with those FTDs that are created, they're called aged fails to deliver. So they're essentially those shares from the Torchlight ex-dividend date that made it to the gray market, and they added them to the option chain so they could bring them to market in October of 2021. So there was some writing in those contracts. They were futures derivatives.
Yep.
And to see if they could deliver the shares, and they were unable to because it was after the ex-dividend date. And that is the conclusion, of MMTLP. The fact that it did not get another ex-dividend date because it's unrelated to the company, and Meta was clear about this. They had to state that the shares were trading as MMTLP because that was the ex-distribution market, and those do not get Nexbridge. And that was clearly after our Torchlight legacy hold date and the cutoff date that George stated, over fucking 18 months ago. So people that were not from Torch, you have to expect that it was a temporary market to participate in. And when we get our dividends that were owed and fully paid for on the NASDAQ of Torchlight common stock, you have to buy Torchlight common stock to be issued these shares. And that's how it goes.
Absolutely. And sadly, a lot of people still didn't realize it. We were even still back, let me see here, November 21st, I believe I put up. Do you guys see a difference between MMAT and MMTLP, right? It was still at $8.90 a share at that time. OTC, pink sheet, bullshit. What's it at now? It's fucking gone. I'm not trying to rub it in. I'm just trying to prove a point here, right? MMAT was up 25% trading in pre-market. MMTLP was not, because it's OTC pink sheet garbage that's unsponsored and has nothing to do with MMAT technically, other than the fact that it's a placeholder. And for it, people tried jumping down our fucking throats and pretending like we're doing something wrong here by trying to share the information. I literally had to block people because they are trying to quote tweet us and saying that that we're wrong. I'm like, yeah, I know that it's OTC and it doesn't trade in pre-market. That's not the point. You actually proved my fucking point that a placeholder trading in OTC is not the same as an actual preferred shares dividend or preferred equity. It's not the same at all. It has nothing to fucking do with it. Mitch Nader, you are too kind, my friend. Thank you for your contributions to the think tank, buddy. We appreciate you truly. I had to come live here and talk to these guys and tell you, you've got a lot of characters out there that have been pushing MMTLP for a long time. And it saddens me that so many people, bought into the hype and lost money on it. But again, we're not here to cause issues or be contrarians. We really wanted people to understand what's going on. And here's audio from Exact Perspective. Make sure you guys follow Exact Perspective, Fuzzy Monkey, and Chewy over on Twitter. Here's some audio. Give me 53 seconds, guys, of silence so you can listen to this. Of Syntax, Uncle Smokey, Bird Lady, Tony, Gray Tendo, Josh, and Kumba having a space call right now in which they pretty much admit to being told what to say by their handlers.
No, hang on. $19.3 billion approximately is what the property will be sold for. I'm just relaying this information. It's not financial advice. I haven't fact-checked this, but I'm being told that by... I'm sure some people will understand the validity of this information, but we'll see if we can get that backed up tomorrow. So just to recap that information, 3.7 billion barrels of oil, 5 to 8 trillion cubic feet of gas. There's NAC from the property. It's being sold after the ex-div date for $19.3 billion approximately, and that's... Okay, and that's coming from... I'm allowed to tell you who says this now. It's coming from David Richfucker.
Gee, never would have guessed.
So I'm allowed to say that. I've been given permission.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Clear as day. People deciding what to tell you and what you can hear and what you can't hear. From Richfucker, Gray Tendo, and all these other MMTLP stock pushers. So no, that's not Wolfie. That's fucking Gray Tendo, for those of you that are saying that shit.
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong chat.
Yeah, that was Gray Tendo. I actually tried to give him the accurate information over the summer and say that we already had our record date to see who was entitled. And I think that got lost in the message because they knew that there would be a record date for distribution, which is only involving us shareholders, not new ones. And I tried to give them information that we've all shared, that it's all, they're meant to be for Torchlight shareholders. And the CEO promised us maximum value for holders, and you had to continue holding throughout this whole fuckery nonsense. And the financial entertainment period of the market is Kenny Mayo says it. And that asshole let it happen. And this is what happens when you don't do your own DD. Everyone has to cross-reference. Don't just focus on one influencer. Don't just focus on me or boss or Uncle Smokey. You want to get everyone's perspective, and they're all great at what they do. I mean, we're trying to bring you the best DD we can give you. I mean, everyone's done the best. Everyone has their own opinions, and they've brought their knowledge to the situation, and it was very confusing. It either could have gotten an ex-dividend date or not, and George made the decision that the real holders of the dividend will get paid, and that's just sticking to contracts and the distribution agreement as far as we know. So, well, that's that's the sole reason holders will be paid, because they're from the ex-dividend date.
Precisely. All right. Oh yeah, brother. Thank you guys for explaining all that. And again, here's back in April, we posted a video literally trying to warn people of this same exact shit. Here it is.
MMTLP, in my opinion, is not a real stock. I believe it to be OTC bullshit. I believe MMTLP holders will get caught left holding a bag. My man on the Discord, Exact Perspectives, has been showing me weeks and weeks worth of due diligence that he's been doing on MMTLP. Now that is not the same as MMAT. I am very bullish on MMAT. As a matter of fact, I bought some fucking calls yesterday on MMAT. But let me bring this up here because we need to have a talk. Guys, MMTLP
while you're doing that,
is not the same as MMAT.
So, go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother. Can you hear me still on the Discord? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, we're here.
All right, go ahead.
Since we were unable to hear the audio, what was shown?
I was just showing the audio of us trying to tell people back in April of what's going on with MMAT and TLP, you know. So that's about it here.
Cool.
If anything else you guys want to add, by all means, feel free to add it in there, you know, and we could talk about APE and tokenized securities next.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I really want to, drive home is, due diligence is very important, especially when there's speculation involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely very important.
And we shared it through Voltron DD, and, it represents what the apes are all about, is putting out, DD for others to learn and see how these hedge funds manipulate the community, they manipulate the tickers, they manipulate the company, all the shareholders. It's a tough business, and the shorts they do it for a living, and that's what you have to understand. They're paid to drive the stock prices down. Shorts want the price down, and it affects long-term shareholders in any stock.
All right, just double checking everything's good with my audio here. Let's get down to. I got a pissed off little one out there. Let's get down to brass tacks here, and the fact of the matter is that. Sorry, 1 second. She's an angry one. The fact of the matter is.
The Friday where the
I ain't gonna say you're wrong, brother. I ain't gonna say you're wrong, because I don't think you are. I think you're on fucking point. Oh shit, she's mad. My little one is pissed.
Raging.
She's fucking furious out there. See, the thing is, there are over 8 quadrillion phantom shares out there of wrapped AMC, which is basically AMC wrapped together with ETH in a contract. It is a contract.
Yeah. No share with intention.
Exactly. They're not necessarily synthetic shares. They're more phantom shares in the sense that these quadrillions of phantom shares of AMC, wrapped ETH, whatever you want to call them, are not the same exact thing as the tokenized securities on Bittrex and FTX. However, there can be swaps issued against them. And we already know for a fact that there is no collateral behind the FTX and Bittrex tokenized securities of AMC. So what they do is, what they're able to do, okay, and I'm going to say this for legal purposes, allegedly, these guys can use these swaps against the value of these tokenized securities and wrapped AMC. And basically, there is no collateral behind them. But they can be used as share locates for broker-dealers. And these contracts can then have swaps used against them. And these swaps act as collateral against other things on the market as well. That's why they're called phantom shares, because they're not necessarily synthetic, because they never existed to begin with. They're phantom shares. What does exist are the swaps. And it's the swaps, like you saw with Archegos and Credit Suisse last year, are the real danger here. There's a lot of fuckery in the ISDA contracts and swaps. And it's almost like an if-then statement. I was telling my guys here in the think tank yesterday. It's almost like an if-then statement with AMC. if AMC reaches a certain price, then the wrapped AMC can be sold or traded to another player in the markets based off of these swaps. So they are able to be used as share locates against the stocks themselves, because broker dealers don't actually have to know what the underlying is, or even if the underlying is actually being held. They just have to be giving plausible deniability. And they receive plausible deniability that there are some share locates of AMC, and therefore the cost to borrow can be reduced, and the broker dealers can offer them up to be shorted at much cheaper costs to borrow. In addition, these swaps act as collateral, and their collateral value is whatever fair market value they want to be given, even though the underlying doesn't hold any of the assets. There are no assets and no real value here on the tokenized securities and these wrapped AMC.
Yeah, you're exactly right. These phantoms to cover the share looking.
Yep. These phantom shares that don't exist are being used to act as share locates from market makers and shorts to the broker dealers, so that they can continue to find them and continue to short the prices of stocks like APE and AMC. If you don't understand that, I don't know how much more simply I can fucking put it. It's about as simple as apple pie. It's not that complicated. The fact of the matter is that it's evidenced in the cost to borrow. When FTX went out of business, when FTX became bankrupt, you guys were seeing that it was a skyrocketing cost to borrow on shares of AMC and APE. Now, a little speculation here. You guys can think whatever the fuck you want. I don't care if you like the DRS or don't. But AMC's cost to borrow went up greatly, and GameStop's did not. I believe a lot of that has to do because DRS shares are held by the transfer agent in book entry form on record under Seed and Company, CEDE and Company. And when that happens, it allows Seed and Company to do whatever the fuck they want with your shares. They just have to give them back to you after the fact. Even if Computershare cannot lend your shares, Seed and Company can theoretically do so. You don't have to. You can disagree with me. That's fine. Let's get back to the nitty gritty. The nitty gritty is that share locates can be used by market makers and short hedge funds and such, and short family offices to bring the cost to borrow down with these phantom shares of AMC and these tokenized securities. They can then issue ISDA swaps and contracts against those wrapped AMC and tokenized securities of non-existent AMC shares in order to act as collateral against other short positions on the market, and those swaps themselves act to bring the price down. That's the whole purpose of swaps, to move the prices, and to basically a derivative is a bet. Right, is a bet on whether the price goes up or down, and when if they reach a certain level, then the contracts are executed. If you've done any coding in your life, you understand what an if-then statement is, and a contract, a cryptocurrency contract, such as wrapped stocks, wrapped tokenized securities, are just that. They are if-then statements, basically. If this occurs, then that occurs. And so there's a huge level of manipulation there open to market makers and hedge funds that, in my opinion, has been occurring since 2016, when they were able to start manipulating those crypto markets. Prior to that, there was a lot of other manipulation happening in ISDA swaps and all sorts of shorts, naked shorts, failures to deliver, rehypothecations, shorts marked as long, wash sales, spoofing, ladder attacks, you fucking name it. I could go on for an hour talking about married puts, divorce puts, married calls, divorce calls, and so on. But there's no reason to. We've already covered that on this channel many times. So if you want my honest opinion, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, but the reason that APE and AMC are going down, as well as other meme stocks, is because of the vast number of rehypothecations, phantom shares, tokenized securities that don't have any underlying assets, of which, swaps and contracts and futures are being used to short them further. This allows them to hide short interest and failures to deliver in these swaps. They don't hit the ticker tape. They don't go to lit exchanges. They don't even go to dark pools. They go from JP Morgan's desk to Citadel's desk to Bank of America's desk, and theoretically to 100 other desks. And they just sit in a filing cabinet there. and they maintain their fair market value until those tokenized securities lose all of their value, like FTX and Bittrex. That is the same thing that's going on with stock of like Evergrande, commercial paper on Evergrande. That's why while so far Evergrande has lost a lot of value on their stock price, they are maintaining the same collateral value, the same fair value accounting of what these securities were worth when the ISDA contracts were issued. That's why Phase 6 is important. That's why Evergrande is important. That's why Chinese executive orders are important, because all of it matters. Not one thing will lead to a short squeeze. Not one thing. But all of them combined, along with a lack of liquidity and a market crash, which is, in my opinion, inevitable at this point, are what leads to a short squeeze. Now, you don't take my word for it. Go do your own due diligence.
Dominoes have to fall.
Exactly. And if you guys have ever seen that GIF of one tiny domino, and each domino is twice the size of the one before it, knocking them over, that's exactly what's going on with FTX and all these other cryptocurrency brokers and exchanges and market makers and, you know, commercial banknotes and commercial paper that doesn't exist. The majority of money that's printed is being printed by banks and institutions like Evergrande and being sold off in the form of IOUs to hundreds and hundreds of banks around the world. So do whatever the hell you think is best with your money. All I know is I'm not fucking leaving. I could not be more confident and more zen in my positions in the market with AMC and GameStop and many other meme stocks. And of course, that doesn't include MMTLP. It never has, for those of you that have already understand, because you've been watching this channel for a while. But the fact of the matter is that I continue to buy and hold and buy some more. And I remain ultimately bullish on that fact because the markets may have a few rebounds here and there. But this economy and the global economy are not going to get better anytime soon. Next week, on December 14th, we've got the next Federal Reserve, the federal funds rate increase. And some people are singing, oh yeah, the Fed pivoted, we're still going to have 50 basis points. That's absolute bullshit. It's not a pivot just because they're raising by 50 instead of 75 basis points, and that's just speculation. We still don't know what's going to happen, and we've got all of 2023 to see what happens there in the markets. The global economy has not gotten better. It is getting worse, as evidenced by all sorts of housing and real estate, land prices, used car market, new car market, look at Carvana, etc. Equities all around the world, cryptocurrencies. What was that, brother? I missed it. What was that, bro? Oh, Jesus. Credit card debt, absolute skyrocketing. Personal savings plummeting to levels never seen before. People that think that we're not going to see a global depression are, in my opinion, sadly mistaken. And all of that leads to a lack of liquidity in the markets. And that leads to margin calls. Therefore, MOAS. I wish you peace and wealth. We're going to be so motherfucking rich. Have a great day, everybody. I appreciate you. Thank you, guys. Fuzzy Monkey, Exact Perspective, Chewy, Cash Money, everybody in the think tank, all of my mods over here, Javier, Diaz, Lawless, appreciate the hell out of all you, Martin, everybody watching in the chat. We truly appreciate all you guys. I will leave you with a song, because why the fuck not? Enjoy. Much love, my friends. We're gonna be
so fucking rich.
Oh God, they wait.
Oh, I can't wait to rub it in their faces.
Everybody, we're gonna be so fucking rich.
I'm not saying the money printer goes burr, but it goes burr.
Get the goddamn money printer out, Jerome Powell. Yep. And if you're still saying if they can do this to MMTLP, they can do it to any stock, watch the fucking video. That's absolute fucking retardedness. Because MMTLP was never even a real fucking stock. Have a great day, everybody.
What? And we had to cover that shit. That was an absolute blindsided rug pull.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm really sad about how many people didn't see it coming. I feel terrible, but I mean, hey, we didn't fucking do it. We've been trying to warn people for a year and a fucking half, right? What the fuck? Why are they mad at us?
Don't blame us.
Come on.
Yeah, don't blame us for knowing shit, ahead of time.
Yeah, if you want to call it a biased take, how is it biased if we've been right? Like, it's not about fucking being biased. It's about calling out the facts.
And sometimes, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
You got it, brother.
You're an original, aren't you?
Gonna be so goddamn rich.
I think it's time to blow this thing. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Gonna be fucking rich. I want my fucking money. Get that fucking money.
Griffin, I want my fucking money. Yo, motherfucker.
Dude, it's nut.
Holy shit, we're gonna be so fucking rich. Damn it, we're gonna be so fucking rich. Griffin, I want my fucking money.
You're an original,
Hey,
aren't
yelling,
you?
give me the fucking money. Get the goddamn money printer out.
Great. Bounty cutter.
We're gonna be so fucking rich. Get the goddamn money printer out.